Welcome, everybody. Glad to see everybody here for season 2 of the TAM weekly workshop series. We're just going to let people, a lot of people rolling in right now. So feel free, please find the question or the Q&A box and drop in where you're calling from. We'd love to hear where you're calling from. While we're just letting everybody get settled, we're just going to launch a few poll questions and then we'll hand this off to Nate and Jonathan. So let's go with the first poll question. There we go. Are you currently installing or working on networks in your customer locations? So far, 100%. We'll give each poll question about 30 seconds. Chris is calling in from BC. Chris, welcome. Scotty, nice to see you from Chestermere, Alberta. All right, so we're about 90%. You are currently working on networks in your customer locations. Okay, so we'll flip over to the next poll. We'll make these quick as possible and then just get on because Nate and Jonathan have some pretty exciting stuff to talk about with IQ Wi-Fi. So there we go.
Very exciting.
There you go. What Wi-Fi devices are you currently installing?
Hey, Neil, I see we got some guys joining from overseas. We got Indy joining us from Belgium.
Nice.
Belgium.
Also, as a reminder, there are some handouts for download that everyone can take that are on the IQ Wi-Fi.
Yeah, good reminder there, Joel. Yeah, the spec sheet, the installation manual, and the quick start guide are in the handout section, and there's also in you should be able to see the IQ Wi-Fi video in there as well. So I'm going to close this poll. So 92% installing Wi-Fi doorbells, 88% cameras, 63% IQ remotes. Very, very interesting. All right, let's move on to number 3. This should be an easy one. Have you ever had to revisit a customer location? Oh, hold on. Let's try that again. Have you ever had to revisit a customer location due to Wi-Fi issues?
Yeah, that's never a problem. Or always is a problem.
Andrew calling in from Idaho Falls.
So yeah, just about 85% have had to do that. Having a slight technical challenge. There we go. Okay, let's try that again. I apologize. Our polls are acting up. All right, we're just going to skip the polls for today. I have no idea what's going on. Nate, Jonathan, season 2 off to a wonderful start. So I'm going to pass this off to you guys and hope everybody really enjoys today's session. And as a reminder, there will be a quick poll or survey that pops up after the webinar is over. And we would really appreciate your feedback. Thanks.
Well, thanks, Neil. Thanks for taking the time to put those poll questions together and getting us started off here this morning. I thought I would just start introducing myself, and I'll let Jonathan here introduce himself shortly thereafter. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Nate Anderson. I've been with Qualys now for a couple of years. Prior to that, I worked over at Control4 for the past 13 years. And even before that, I was installing systems, out in the field. So pulling wire, doing programming. We did back then. We did a lot of GE security. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for allowing us the chance to get in front of you. We've got some exciting things to share with you today about IQ Wi-Fi.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan Jennings. I've been with DSC/Qualys, now part of Johnson Controls, for 6 years now. I started in this industry with a manufacturer back in North Carolina as an inside salesman. I quickly took over the training function of the company and just excelled from there. I've done tons of installations with dealers out in the field. I've let the magic smoke out of lots of devices. It's always a good learning experience. And I'm just really happy to be on here to talk about the IQ Wi-Fi, which has been a wonderful product in my house.
Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to spend just a little bit of time talking about this morning is how the connected home and the security industry are colliding at a rate faster than ever. Everything wants to be connected to the internet nowadays. You know, my wife and I were just joking the other day, and we were talking about some of the things in our house that we never thought would ever want to stay connected to the internet. Things like our vacuum, even. We've got IoT devices, lots of different appliances, even our stove, our oven, even our washer and dryer. And you know, I think it's safe to say, and maybe Jonathan, you would even agree, with the alarm industry coming in at full force, trying to stay connected to the connected home. You know, things like cameras and doorbells, and you know, now keypads, right? So we've got touchscreens now that all want to stay connected wirelessly.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I thought it was a huge deal, you know, years ago when you could finally buy a printer that was Wi-Fi and you didn't have to run that stupid cable or have that specialized cable coming from your computer. And I was like, man, this is awesome. That darn thing's always dropping off my network all the time. Does anybody else have that problem?
I'm sure nobody's ever had that problem. Well, we're very excited to introduce to you, if this is the first time that you've heard about IQ Wi-Fi. You know, some of this is going to be pretty exciting. We've shared some of these slides yesterday. We had a big marketing webinar with Jeremy from our marketing team. But anyway, we thought we'd start off just by introducing the product. As you can see, it's pretty simple, you know, in design. There's just a couple ports there on the back. We've got a WAN and a LAN port. There's just two buttons on this device, reset button, and then on the side there, this picture doesn't actually show it very well, but there is a WPS button along with you know, a power jack for your supplied power supply. I'll switch slides here.
So this build.
So if you look at, oh, go ahead, Jonathan.
Oh, no, go ahead, Nate. It's all you, buddy.
All right, sorry. Well, if you look at the marketplace today, I would really classify our customers into one of two buckets, or one of two categories, right? So the first bucket or category of customers that are currently offering Wi-Fi solutions. Maybe they're offering some sort of Wi-Fi management, and they're able to monetize it somehow. The second group is a group that I would consider as not really currently offering anything. You know, they kind of piggyback, you know, cameras, other security appliances on the customer's existing Wi-Fi network, right? They may even use a Wi-Fi repeater. Maybe they even utilize an access point that's built into the IQ2. Regardless of what type of customer you are, or what you know, bucket you or your company might land in, we really feel like that this is a good product for you to at least look at, maybe even consider as part of your portfolio. And the main reason why is not only does it accomplish some of the same things that some of the competing products offer, but this product was really purpose-built for our industry.
So some of the primary features that this product offers is that you can have a controller and then up to 7 nodes or satellites to be able to cover on this mesh network system. So basically a single node can cover about 1,500 square feet. Again, depending on materials located in the home or commercial business, depends on how far that Wi-Fi signal is actually going to go. Again, you really got to be careful when it comes to metal, like, you know, trying to shoot through a kitchen, for an example, because there's a lot of metal based around that. So that is something to definitely take a look into. Say, hey, maybe I need to add an extra node, you know, especially if they've just got a lot of metal, large televisions, flat screens, like, you know, I know like in Nate's house has probably got that big 90-inch TV so he can watch the game on, right? So you may have to add an extra node for that. Speaking about a mesh network, so we can fill in kind of these dead spots, right? I mean, I know that in my house, like, of course, really close to the Wi-Fi network, like everything's great. You're like, yay, but once you get way out to the, let's say the master bedroom, well, maybe my signal's not as good, right? So I can't watch TikTok videos as strong in the bed as I can out in the living room. So I kind of have a dead spot. So maybe I need to move a node closer to the bedroom area, or maybe even in the bedroom area, to get a much stronger signal in there. So again, I can lollygag and not be productive, right? Or not go to sleep. This thing has what's known as an automatic handoff and self-healing. So let's just say, here's a prime example. Teenage kids, they come over, they always need to plug in their device because their phones are always dead because they're always on them, right? So maybe they accidentally unplug one of your nodes. So all of a sudden you're going to have a little bit of a dead spot. But the way our system actually works is it's going to kind of see that and kind of try to be a little self-healing to try to get around devices so they can still communicate with each other. So I've got that camera on that one side of the house. Hopefully that camera is still going to be able to work since this is a self-healing network. And the big thing is it's easy to install, okay? I'm going to be honest. I installed mine with no problems, okay? If I can do it, anybody can do it. WPS button, real easy to push and learn. You can learn in the other ones. You go set it to where you need it to. The system's up and working. It's really, really simple. I know a lot of technicians and a lot of business owners are like, oh man, I don't know if I want to mess with networks. You know, I really don't quite understand them, how they work. This thing is extremely easy. And again, it's the ease of installation, which I think is one of the greatest products out there.
Yeah, so Jonathan, you talk about how easy this is to install. You know, really the main purpose of coming to market, before we actually decided to come to market with this router solution, we knew that we wanted it to be purpose built. You know, there is some what I would call some special sauce built in that allows us to do some things that, you know, maybe some of the competitors can't do, like integrating with our panel. So right from the panel, you know, we'll actually go through how to quickly set this up, but right from the panel, you'll notice you'll be able to deploy the solution. You'll be able to do things like, you know, rename an SSID or a network name, change a network key. You can activate or deactivate a guest network. You can see all the different agents that are attached to this network. You can see how many devices or nodes are connected to each agent. Right, so really what it comes down to as well as all those added features is the reliability, right? We know that the connected home is, you know, devices within the connected home are wanting to stay connected. Cameras, you know, we have taken a poll with our partners over at alarm.com, and, you know, there's something like 90% of all systems that get installed out there want to have either a doorbell with an integrated camera added. You know, that's just kind of the expectation nowadays. Also cost, you know, we wanted to come to market with something that was very cost effective. RMR, you know, the recurring revenue is really important to this side of the business. And then of course support. You know, so we've been able to control kind of the beginning and the end, you know, as it relates to support and connectivity. This gives us the opportunity to not only control and manage and maintain the beginning and the end, but also the middle portion, right? So we can see exactly what's going on with the network, with the way that this thing is configured and connected to the panel. And then of course, user experience. So ultimately, there's a couple different ways that you can set this up. You know, this particular slide that we're sharing here is we're going to talk about, you know, the option or the version to the left there on this slide is what we would call a standalone network, right? So it can operate everything in the home. You know, we're talking about IoT devices. You know, Jonathan had mentioned, you know, browsing on your device. Maybe you want to use that as your business model. but really we think we have a solution here that will likely be used more common in what we would consider a parallel configuration, right? So the benefits of installing this product in a parallel configuration is you can separate, the customer's IoT devices, maybe their gaming equipment, Apple TVs, Roku TVs, or whatever they have, streaming Netflix or Hulu or whatever they're doing in the house there, from the security devices. So, that gives us a lot of benefits like troubleshooting. We, don't want that call at midnight asking, why my Netflix account isn't connecting to the internet, right? So that's just one of the many benefits of configuring it in this parallel configuration. Let's see here. So this is, just one example of what, setting up the product and a parallel configuration might look like, with a controller and just a couple agents.
So is this the way yours is currently set up in your house, Nate?
Yeah, it is. I was just going to ask you the same thing. Are you running this thing as a parallel network, or are you running yours as a standalone network?
Mine is a parallel network, and I did it actually both. So when we first got them, again, for us to start beta testing, I ran mine as a single network with everything connected to it, which made my wife extremely happy that she had to relearn something in, right? Type in the SSID and password again and find that network. But then I then made it be a parallel network because I wanted to learn, both ways and exactly, to kind of get in the nuts and bolts of how this thing works. And then I made a parallel network, which will really benefit your end user, because let's just say they changed ISP providers, right? So right in the middle of all this, I changed my ISP provider. Well, at the time I was running a parallel network, so my wife did not have to learn in a new password and into a brand new SSID, because again, I had that parallel network, which made her extremely happy.
Yeah, well, and that is, in my opinion, one of the main reasons why we would see this parallel configuration, maybe more frequently. So anyway, so the next few slides here, we wanted to spend just a little bit of time talking about the initial setup and then show you some screenshots of what it looks like when you are connected to IQ Wi-Fi with an IQ panel. So the first step ultimately is determining how you want it configured, right? Are we going to configure this thing in a standalone network or a parallel configuration? The next few steps are pretty simple steps. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about each one of these steps because they, like I said, they are pretty simple. You're essentially going to power up the unit. Step 3 there on this particular slide, we're telling you to plug it right into a modem. So if you are going to set this up in a parallel configuration, you essentially, rather than plugging it directly into a modem, would need a port, from that existing network. And one of the major benefits of IQ Wi-Fi 2 is the gateway on it. If you understand IP schemes, it's actually set up as a 105.1 address, and we did that, by purpose. We wanted to make sure that when this thing comes online, if it is configured as a parallel network, that it's not going to cause any network problems, any IP conflicts, right? So getting it set up, getting it plugged up, plugged into the right network is essentially what we're doing here to get it up and running.
All right. So once you have this thing up and going, what we can do is we can go to the main panel itself, of course, the Qualys 2 Plus panel. Click on Settings, which is going to be the bar. Tap on it, go to Settings, Advanced Settings. Of course, put in either your installer/technician code or the dealer code to be able to get in. Or we can go to Devices and actually go find this particular thing on the panel itself and connect the main panel to the IQ Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so what we're showing you here is it actually, our IQ panel currently supports what we call WPS mode, right? So when the panel is in WPS mode, it can actually auto connect to the IQ Wi-Fi when the IQ Wi-Fi is in WPS mode. So really what happens when you put it in this mode, that mode is enabled for up to 2 minutes. So within that 2-minute window, you're essentially just pressing the WPS button on the side of the IQ Wi-Fi. And then once it's connected, you'll get a confirmation that it is connected. You could also connect the panel to IQ Wi-Fi like you would a telephone or any other wireless device, right? You have to just search for the SSID, enter in the password. The default username or network name, SSID, and password for this device is going to look like, there's an example here on this slide there at the bottom, IQ Wi-Fi, and then the X's are going to represent the MAC address printed on the bottom of the device, and then the serial number is the password when you're connecting your first time. Then one of the first steps that we recommend you do after you get connected from the panel to IQ Wi-Fi is going in and changing your default SSID. So out of the box, this panel is actually going to be broadcasting 4 SSIDs. 2 SSIDs are hidden, so you'd never see them from your phone, computer, or from the panel. But the 2 that are visible are going to show up as a 2.45 gigahertz SSID. Again, those default SSIDs or network names are going to be, they're going to look something similar to what we had mentioned earlier, where it says IQ Wi-Fi, and then 6 digits are representing the MAC address on the, printed on the bottom of the device, and then serial number essentially is going to be your password, if you're looking at the defaults. Here in this example, we're just going in right into the panel. You'll notice that when you connect to IQ Wi-Fi, that the router symbol is going to show up under Wi-Fi devices, right? So we're still in the installation section of the panel. Go to devices, Wi-Fi devices, IQ Wi-Fi is now going to pop up there. If you press and touch the IQ Wi-Fi icon, you'll see the screen where it prompts you to go in and change the default SSID. So in this example, I'm changing my default to SSID Eagle Eye 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, depending on what network you're adjusting there, or network name you're adjusting, SSID you're adjusting. And then, of course, you just press and touch the save button. I'll also point out that you can hide these. So I'll just touch briefly upon, one of the added benefits or features of IQ Wi-Fi is we, created some hidden SSIDs, and what is essentially happening kind of behind the scenes. This is where that special sauce kind of kicks in, where it's purpose-built. It will recognize that IQ panel or even an IQ remote has been connected to it, and it will actually dynamically move those devices from the connected SSID or the visible SSIDs or network names over to this hidden SSID. So, take the standalone network configuration that we mentioned earlier. If that is the setup that you're going for, and you want to still give the client the ability to go in and change password or SSID, because that's a fairly common thing for them to have access to. If they go in and change that, the idea here is it won't affect the connectivity of the panel, the IQ panel or the IQ remote, any of the IQ products. They'll all stay connected.
So Nate, one question out there. I mean, it's great with the hidden security network, and I've seen how well it's working. That will eventually work for Alarm.com cameras too. Is that right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So very valid point, Neil. Like anything at JCI, we actually get better as time goes by. And what I mean by that is some of the features that we've heard feedback from the field or from our customers, like even Alarm.com, in future releases will actually have some of those added features. So with the current release, that's something that isn't working at the moment. You know, the connectivity, even with alarm.com on the back end to do simple things like reboot a network, you know, looking at signal strength remotely, some basic network configurations remotely as well, like SSID or security password changes. All that is coming. So yeah, it's definitely going to get better, you know, as time permits.
We have a question here, and I think it's I don't think we does, but I think it's a great question. Will we be able to, or the dealers be able to lock out the reset button from a customer so once the mesh is set, it can't be compromised?
That is a good question. So the answer is no, not currently. So yeah, I mean the customer, if they physically pressed and held down that reset button for 30 seconds, you know, it will default the unit or the device. The benefit with having multiple units, though, is, you know, Jonathan mentioned earlier, is there is this auto healing function that's kind of just built in. So, you know, if that does happen, and there's still a couple units, you know, up and running, they'll just kind of take over. Obviously, you know, your extension, your wireless connectivity in that part of the home isn't going to be as great, obviously, because you're dealing with the unit that's been reset. So good question. You know, what we ought to do is maybe take that back to engineering and products and see if that's something that we could actually lock out. That's an awesome feature. Could be. So here's an example of enabling a guest network. So this is one of the other features and benefits of having that purpose-built solution, you know, configurable right from IQ panel. So by default, again, you've got 4 SSIDs or 4 networks that are essentially broadcasting, the 2 that are hidden and the 2 that are broadcasting or visible. But you could go in and enable a guest network, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, or just one or the other. So basically all we're doing here is we're showing you that you can go and enable that. And it's going to look and feel very much like your 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, you know, that we showed you in the last slide, where you can go in and edit those names. Maybe you want to give you know, your visitor or your guest access to that guest network, and you want to keep them separate from everything else. So you can do that right from the panel. And currently, this is only a setting that's behind, you know, your installer or your dealer codes. But the idea here is we want to give you the ability to bring some of these features and functions up to, say, like a master user on the panel. So, you know, like we've mentioned even earlier, as time permits, some of these added features and benefits will likely show up in future releases.
Just to let you know, Nate, I actually did that last week. I had a friend of mine over here for a night. Instead of, you know, taking his phone and typing out all this stuff, I just simply activated the guest network, so I didn't have to type anything in because I'm lazy.
You're not lazy. You just you're technical. So one of the other things that you can do from the panel is you can test your speed. You know, it's kind of cool. It's all just built right in. Again, you'd go locate the IQ Wi-Fi icon under installation devices, Wi-Fi devices, press the internet icon there, and you've got this little speed test that you can run.
One of the reasons why you'd want to do a speed test is to be able to say, hey, how many cameras can I add on to the system and everything still work properly with my network? So it's one of the good things why you really want to test a speed network. If you do it right there on the panel, so you're not going to another app on your phone or something like that, it's just right there for you.
Nate, we're coming up on the bottom of the hour.
Okay, so we'll jam through these next few slides. Actually, I've just got a few more slides left here, but I just wanted to give you a quick view on some of the other things that you can do from the panel. You know, I mentioned it earlier, but wanted to give you some visibility to what it looked like when you're viewing the mesh, right? So maybe you've got a mesh with 4 of these devices. In this particular example, I've actually got one of them that are hardwired. So it does support an Ethernet backplane, and you can see that it's connected and utilizing that hardwire connection there. And then the other nodes that are connected via wirelessly. I can see, you know, from this dashboard, how many devices are connected to each agent. I can reboot them. There's kind of an interesting statistic. Alarm.com had something like 95% of all network issues were resolved by a reboot. So the idea here is you can log right into the panel and just go in and reboot and you know, hopefully solve whatever issue you may be experiencing. And last but not least, you can go on, you can rename devices, right? So if I've got, and this is pretty important too. So if I've got a ton of these devices, so if I'm utilizing it to its full potential, maybe I've got a larger install and I want to keep track of what agents are located in what parts of the house, I want to go in and rename them. I can do that right from the panel. So I'd get in under the devices, Wi-Fi device, touch the IQ Wi-Fi icon, actually touch the device icon right there under the IQ Wi-Fi. And then that little down arrow would allow me to get in there and adjust, you know, the name. And once I've selected a name, you know, maybe it's the master bedroom or kitchen or office location, press OK. And then Neil, the only other thing that I had left here was just wanted to make everybody aware that this is a product that you can go and purchase now from your distribution. We do have some assets available on our dealer portal. We've got videos that are neatly done. You can utilize those. Maybe you want to use that as something to explain, you know, what the product is. Maybe you just want to watch it, you know, to get a better idea on how to install, you know, the solution. We've got quick start guides, a full installation manual that basically takes you through every setting, you know, whether it's on the panel or through the web interface.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, great job. And we've answered all of the questions in chat. Everybody, we apologize for going over a few minutes, and we hope to see you next week. We will be having the first of 2 back-to-back new product introductions. So, you know, we'll just leave it as you'll see a new IQ panel of some form next week. And again, please complete the after workshop survey so we can get some feedback and obviously, you know, keep tailoring these sessions for your needs. So Nate, Jonathan, great job. And thanks everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your Thursday.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.